afternoon, everyone. I hope that you're all well. It's a very hot afternoon, no rain over here. So I hope that you're all keeping well. All right, drink a lot of water. It's a very hot day today. So you must be wondering, the first thing that must wondering, why am I doing chapter 7 now? Right? Everybody, I'm sure, all over Malaysia, everybody is already like, in Form 4, you're already doing like chapter 10, maybe, chapter 9 or chapter 10. Why am I going backwards and doing chapter 7? Okay, actually the reason is this. I want to complete my library of videos. Actually, from after today's video, I already have all the videos for Form 4, except for chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 5. I have already chapter 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, up to chapter 15. All right, okay. So I just want to complete it because I did not have 7.1. I did 7.2 last year. So I want to complete it. Okay, good afternoon. Let me see who's with me today. Caris, okay, good afternoon. And Lai Kong. All right. So very happy to see you here. I'm very, very happy that you really want to learn. All right. You're one of those students who are really, really committed to wanting to learn the topics that you did not learn maybe previously and you really want to find out. Okay, congratulations to you. Okay, so today I'm going to finish up 7.1. It's going to be 7.1 and 7.2. It is going to be a short lesson, but the concept is very simple, all right? But I think you want to know what is ATP, especially what's ATP. A lot of students have been learning ATP since the beginning of Form 4. And you're always wondering ATP. What is ATP actually? So today I want to, answer your questions and let you find out let you know for sure actually what is ATP and why is it important. Why are we learning about ATP? Okay, what is the molecule about? Okay, let me share screen. All right. So if you have any questions, as usual, just ask now. Okay. So you do not need to wait until the end because sometimes you have burning questions you really want to know. So just ask. Okay, just type in the chat. Okay, and I'll find I will read for your from your answer. Okay, now you see here. So here is, I'm sure you know what picture you're looking at. Do you know what picture you're looking at? Okay, anyone can type here. Lai Kong or Caris, what do you think you're looking at? What is this picture? Do you know what you're looking at? Okay, you should know by now. Anyone? This is an electron microscope. An actual picture taken under electron microscope. Yes. Okay, this is an actual picture of one of the organelles in a cell. Okay, it's a very important organelle, right? Many cells have this organelle. Yes, very good. It's mitochondrion. Yes, the spelling is correct, Caris. Or mitochondria, like correct. Okay, but you don't spell mitochondrion. There's no the spelling of mitochondrion is not spelled mitochondrian. Is wrong. Okay, so make sure you spell it like how Caris spells it and how Yikong spells it, mitochondrion or mitochondria. Okay, correct. This is the powerhouse of the cell. This is the organelle. If you cannot recognize this, I'm sure you can recognize this. So it contains two membranes, right? The outer membrane is smooth. The inner membrane is highly folded. And the function of mitochondria is actually to produce energy. And as you know, energy is in the form of ATP. All right, that's why we're going to come to that later. You really, you would like to know what ATP is all about. Okay, so today 7.1 is production of energy through cellular respiration. So cellular respiration is the process whereby we release the energy that is in the molecule. Okay, so what kind of molecules that would have energy inside? Okay, now look at all this. Okay, I'm sure that makes you want to eat, right? Because you might be hungry at the moment, right? You see all these are raw materials. Some of them are fruits, some of them are vegetables, but all of them are classified as food. Okay, we can obtain energy from the food. So let me ask you a simple question. Why do we need to eat? Okay, why are we eating? Okay, so if you ask this question to a young child, okay, probably the answer will be, what answer would that be? The simple answer will be, because I'm hungry, right? I eat because I'm hungry. Okay, that is not entirely wrong, right? You eat because you're hungry. But in terms of biology, right, in terms of why you need to eat, it's because you want to obtain energy. You want to obtain energy for your cells. You want to obtain energy for you to do certain jobs, certain tasks for you, like if you want to talk, you want to write, you want to walk, you want to do exercise, you require energy to do all that. Okay, so the reason why we need to eat is actually to get energy. And that's the answer, right? To obtain energy. So actually food contains chemical energy. They are stored in the molecule. Specifically, the molecule that contains energy would be glucose. So the glucose is one of these molecules which has energy that is stored inside the molecule. Not only glucose, you will have protein as well, okay, amino acids, and also fat or lipids. That also contains energy. All right, okay. So obtain energy, yes, that's right. Supply energy, obtain energy, that's right. Okay, so you have the idea, okay, of a biology student, right? If you were a child, if you were a 6-year-old child, you say, why do you eat? Because I'm hungry, right? You cannot blame them because they didn't learn biology, all right? So the actual reason is you want to obtain energy from the food. That's why you eat, not because you're hungry. Of course, biologically, your body, your brain, your hypothalamus will be sending signals to you to make you feel hungry because your body requires energy, okay, nutrients. Okay, how is the energy stored in the food release? Just now we mentioned all these types of food has energy stored in the molecule. All right, okay. So the way to release the energy is through a process called cellular respiration. Okay, this is the type of respiration that occurs inside the cell. So it's not the respiration that you learn in Form 3 where you remember you talked about the external respiration where you breathe in and breathe out. That is just to obtain oxygen. The oxygen is needed to be brought into the body, into the blood, to be channeled to the cell. It goes into the cell and the process actually happens inside the cell. So you breathe in and oxygen and all that is to get oxygen into your body so you can deliver this oxygen into the cell for the cell to carry out cellular respiration. That's why you need the oxygen. Okay, cellular respiration cannot be performed, all right, if you do not have enough oxygen. Of course, there's another way, which is called anaerobic respiration, right? That's also you can produce energy, but I will come to that later. Okay, cellular respiration is the basic process where you release the energy stored in the food. Okay, so cellular respiration definition is the process of oxidation. You see the word oxidation, right? It comes from the oxygen. So oxidation is a process whereby oxygen reacts with the molecule. It's a chemical reaction to release the energy that is stored in the molecule. Okay, so we use the word oxidation when we want to talk about releasing the energy from the food. All right, okay. So you see, just think of it this way. Whatever you're eating, all right, all this food that you're eating, think of it as little packets of energy, like batteries. Okay, so when you eat the food, of course you're not eating the battery, but what it equates is you have the energy from after eating the food, you will oxidize the glucose, oxidize the molecules, you will get the energy, and the energy is released in the form of ATP. Okay, I'll come to that. Right, so the main substrate, the main molecule for you to use to get the energy is actually glucose. Okay, that is the main substrate. That's not the only one, of course. Okay, you can also get energy from the maltose. You can also get from the fructose and the galactose and all the different types of sugar. Okay, sugar, carbohydrate, amino acid, and fat. They all can be oxidized to provide you with energy. Okay, all right. So next question is, why do we need energy? What do we use the energy for? Why do we need the energy? Or where do we use the energy? Okay, so very many reasons. Okay, every day in your whole day, or you require energy. You need to walk. You need to contract your muscles. Okay, you have to do a lot of activity. So some things you can see, some things you cannot see. For example, your body is making new cells. Okay, every minute of the day, all right, to in order to replace certain cells that are dead, all right, that you have to be removed. So you are building new cells, and that requires energy. Another thing would be growth. You see the little plant there growing, right, from small into bigger size. How do you get the size to increase? Because the number of cells increases. And how do you get the number of cells increases? You build new cells for growth. The number of cells increases, so the size will increase. Okay, for growth, also to maintain body temperature, all right, because you need to, your energy is also, heat is also a form of energy. So you'll be producing heat so that you do not feel cold, right? You will be trying to maintain your body temperature. Cell division, okay, the process that you learned cell division 2 weeks ago, right? Mitosis, meiosis, your chromosomes divided into two opposite poles of the cell and all that. All this require energy, right, for to pull the chromosomes apart to make these spindle fibers and all that. Movement, okay, look, you are exercising. Your biceps and triceps, they will contract and relax antagonistically, okay? So bicep contract, the tricep will relax. So that is called movement. Movement in terms of muscle contraction, and the movement in terms of the bones moving from the a certain fixed position. And then there's locomotion. Okay, a lot of students will think that movement is the same as locomotion, but there's a slight difference here. You can see the difference here or not? Movement is you are stationary. Your entire body does not move. You are fixed where you are. That's considered movement. Okay? But locomotion is you are moving your entire body from one place to another place. Just like this cheetah is running, right? It's chasing after a prey. So that is considered locomotion. When you walk from one place to another place, that's locomotion. But when you're moving your arms, okay, when you're moving your mouth, you're talking and all that, you're just moving your muscles. You're not, that's not locomotion. All right, okay, next. Carrying out active transport. This one you cannot see, right? You have molecules being transported into and out of the plasma membrane. So some of them, with passive transport does not need energy, right? That goes down the concentration gradient. But for active transport, where you need to bring in the molecules against the concentration gradient from less to more, okay, from a region of lower concentration to a region of higher concentration, you need to have a pump, all right? And that pump requires energy. You have to carry it inside or out of the cell. That is active transport. You require ATP for that. Okay, so these are examples, some of the examples why energy is needed for your cells, okay, for your body. All right, okay, let's go on, yeah? Any questions? So no questions so far, let's continue. So cellular respiration can be divided into two types actually. Okay, so one is called aerobic respiration. Aerobic, yeah? Aerobic means with oxygen. So this is the type of respiration that occurs in the presence of oxygen. So when there's enough oxygen, when there's oxygen, the type of respiration that is carried out is called aerobic. And this is the best choice actually, because with the presence of oxygen, the molecule that, like for example, the substrate, the glucose, all the energy will be released. There is no in the what they call the product. You have carbon dioxide and water. There won't be any unreleased energy inside these molecules. You have released all the energy from the molecule of glucose. That's the best. Okay, you do not leave any unreleased energy inside the molecule. So that's if you have enough oxygen. Okay, but if there is limited oxygen supply, or when there's less oxygen, lacking of oxygen, you still can carry out another type of respiration. This is called anaerobic respiration. When you see the word an, that means it's the opposite. Okay, aerobic means with oxygen. So anaerobic means this is the respiration that occurs in the absence of oxygen. So without oxygen supply, certain organisms, like for example bacteria, especially, okay, some of these bacteria, they are able to carry out anaerobic respiration without the presence of oxygen. They are able to produce energy. Okay, and then there's another type, okay, which you will also learn. You already seen in my 7.3. My 7.3 video is on fermentation. This is under anaerobic respiration. Okay, this is incomplete breakdown of glucose. So without oxygen or in limited oxygen, there is another pathway, another way for the glucose to release the energy contained inside. This process is called fermentation. Okay, without oxygen. So it is another way of obtaining energy without oxygen. Okay, besides cellular respiration. Of course, cellular respiration is always the best, right? But the aerobic, where you can release all the energy that is stored inside the molecule. Fermentation, you do not you do not release all the energy stored. There will be some energy still stored in the lactic acid or in the alcohol. So you do not get as much energy from fermentation compared to aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration will give you the most number of ATP, or the most amount of kilojoules per mole. Okay, later you will see the number. All right, okay, so let's look at the next slide. Okay, so now we go to 7.2. 7.1 was what is the meaning of cellular respiration. Okay, now we look at aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration is the respiration that's carried out in the presence of oxygen, adequate supply of oxygen. Okay, so how is energy released from, let's say I give you a simple, what they call analogy, perbandingan, all right? So if you have firewood, okay, you're burning firewood, you want to warm yourself on a very cold day, all right? So it's winter, let's say it's snowing outside and it's very cold, right? So you want to warm yourself, you would be burning the firewood, right? So the fuel is the substance that will be able to give you energy if you burn it. That is called fuel actually. Fuel has we call stored energy inside. So in order to release this energy from the wood, you have to burn it. Okay? When you burn the wood, energy is released. Of course, when you burn it, you also require oxygen. Right? Without oxygen, nothing can burn. This process is called combustion. It's a fancy word for just burning. It's the same meaning. Burning or combustion, it just means the same thing. Requires oxygen. So oxygen, all right, combined with the carbon. A lot of things contain carbon. So when carbon in the wood combined with oxygen, you get carbon dioxide. So one of the products of combustion is always CO2. All right. Of course, energy, like you can see the heat there. You can see the flame. You can see the light. Light energy is released. Heat is released. All right. At the same time, you will get carbon dioxide. So combustion will always release carbon dioxide because it combines oxygen from the air with the carbon in the fuel to get CO2. And if your fuel contains hydrogen as well, right? Hydrogen combined with oxygen, you will get water as well. Okay, H2O is water. So these are the products of combustion. Okay, basically this is what you already know lah. You also learn in chemistry, right? The oxidation of certain things, you will get all this. If there's carbon with oxygen, you get CO2. So let me compare this thing with food. Okay, so let's look at food. Food is also fuel. It has molecules inside there that also stores energy. Okay, so for example, glucose. So you're burning a piece of, let's say, meat or burning a piece of chicken, whatever. Okay, of course you don't burn in fire in the form of fire inside your stomach or inside your cells. Right? It's just what they call a comparison. The kind of respiration, the kind of combustion that we have inside our body does not release flames. We don't see the flames, right? But there will be energy release. Okay, so when fuel is burned, right? We don't use the word burn up. We use the word oxidation. Okay, so that's why when we have food, we call it oxidation because we don't see the fire burning. So we say food is oxidized. Okay, in the cell, glucose is oxidized in the cell. Okay, with oxygen, of course, you need oxygen to do the job. The same thing. So that's why we are combining. We are going to compare. It's very similar to what you do when you burn firewood. So our cell actually is burning the food, and it produces energy. All right, carbon dioxide and water. The only difference is the type of energy that is produced is ATP. It is a molecule that stores the energy that is released. Okay, later I'll come to that. What is ATP? So this, you can see food that is fuel, all right, whether it's firewood, whether it's food, it all contains chemical energy stored inside, which you need to release if you want to use the energy. All right, okay, so by oxidation, energy is released from the food through the process of oxidation. Oxidation means there must be oxygen that is needed, all right, to in order to release the energy. Okay, all right. Now, let's look at aerobic respiration some more, yeah? Just a few more slides. Today's class will be very short. It won't be very difficult, okay? Just that you just want to learn about ATP later. Right, so aerobic respiration definition is a breakdown of glucose, because we say glucose is the main substrate for producing energy. So we say it's the breakdown of glucose, which involves oxygen. So aerobic means with oxygen. And this process is called oxidation, okay, to produce energy. So we don't say combustion now, okay, because we don't burn it. So we don't see the flame, we don't see the light, we don't see the heat, right? We don't feel the heat. Of course, there is heat, but we don't use combustion. Remember to use the word oxidation, okay, to produce energy. So here you see oxygen is needed in order to oxidize glucose. So we don't say burn glucose, we say oxidize glucose to produce carbon dioxide, water, and energy. So here, oxygen is supplied to the cell through the blood, of course, with the red blood cell. Red blood cell's job is to carry oxygen. So it's given to the oxygen diffuses into the cell, right? At the same time, glucose is also given into the cell, okay? Diffuses into the cell. So when you have oxygen and glucose inside the cell, all right, with the presence of enzyme and all that to carry out this oxidation, so what happens is you will produce, number one, all right, you have carbon dioxide. This is the byproduct. You don't really need the carbon dioxide. This is not what you want, all right? You also don't want the water, all right? You don't want the carbon dioxide, you don't want the water. But what you really want, what the cell really wants is actually this thing, which is energy, okay? And this energy is stored, okay? This energy is not released, not like your fuel, like you see the fire, you see the heat, all that, right? You don't get it. You actually store this energy in a molecule first. That molecule is called ATP. So in other words, ATP is a molecule that stores the energy that is released from your cellular respiration. Okay, it is a molecule that contains energy. The energy is stored in the bonds in the molecule itself. I will show you what I mean. All right, at the moment, is there any questions so far? Okay, nothing else. So both of you are okay, right? Carries and Lai Kong, no problem. Okay, let me carry on with one more slide before I go to ATP. So now, in order to release the energy that's in the glucose, you have to start with a basic process first. The process is called glycolysis. The word glyco actually means glucose. Okay, glyco is actually means glucose, yeah. So lysis means breaking down. It's a breakdown. Lysis is pecah. Another in the M word is called pecah, right? Breaks down. So glycolysis is the process of the breakdown of glucose. Of course, this one is done by enzymes. Okay, this enzyme will speed up the process of the chemical reaction. So glycolysis is a process whereby glucose is broken down. Now this occurs, okay, with the presence of enzyme, and as a result, you will get energy. This is what the cell really wants. But as a byproduct, you also get CO2 and water. Now, glycolysis occurs in the cytoplasm. It does not occur in the mitochondria. Okay, the mitochondria is the step 2. Step 1, when you have aerobic respiration, it starts with the glycolysis first. It happens in the cytoplasm. Okay, there's enzyme in the cytoplasm. So glycolysis happens first. Okay, you will get the substance. After that, only then step 2. This substance enters the mitochondrion for step 2. Okay, now this is the first step 1, glycolysis. All right, so now we go to the second one. Right, I will repeat again on the glycolysis. Okay, so let's look at the glucose. This is a molecule of glucose. C6H12O6. That's why I see so many molecules there. All right, C6H12O6. Now glucose is broken down. Okay, so this glucose is broken down. What do you get? Now this process is called glycolysis. This is what I mentioned. Glycolysis is the process of whereby glucose is broken down, and this happens in the cytoplasm. What do you get when glucose is broken down in the process of glycolysis? You will get 2 pyruvate molecules. Okay, so it's like simpler molecules from the glucose. It looks like little puppy dog there, right? Doesn't matter. So you have 2 pyruvate molecules, which also contains energy. It is not fully released. These two pyruvate molecules still contain energy in the bonds. All right. So therefore, right, this happens in the cytoplasm, like I mentioned, and because the pyruvate molecules still contains energy inside, glycolysis only releases 2 ATP. Only 2 molecules of ATP is released during the process of glycolysis. Okay, so this occurs in the cytoplasm, not in the mitochondria. Do not mistakenly, this is step 1. You have to start in the cytoplasm first with the process called glycolysis. And then only it will enter the second stage, all right, depending on whether there is enough oxygen. Now, if there is enough oxygen, we will have called step 2. Step 2 is called oxidation of the pyruvate. Okay, that means you want to further break down the pyruvate. And this happens in the mitochondria if there is enough oxygen. Okay, now if there's not enough oxygen, this oxidation of pyruvate will not occur. It will go to another pathway, which we will call fermentation. If there's not enough oxygen, glycolysis also occur because glycolysis does not require oxygen. You break down, you get 2 pyruvates. Okay, without oxygen, it will not go into the mitochondria. It will carry on with fermentation. Okay, so what I'm explaining here is if there is enough oxygen. So if there is enough oxygen, these pyruvate molecules will enter the mitochondria. Okay, you can see here. And the next process, the step 2, like I mentioned, is called oxidation of pyruvates. So this occurs in the presence of enough oxygen. Therefore, you see the word oxidation. If there's no oxygen, we cannot say oxidation. Right? You can only say breakdown. Okay, that's why you have to be very specific with the word. If there's oxygen, you can say the word oxidation. If there's no oxygen, you can't say oxidation because there's no oxygen. Oxidation comes from the word oxygen. You can say breakdown. Yes, breakdown can. All right. So now we go to step 2. Yeah, it occurs in the mitochondria. So just now only produce 2 ATP. In fact, in the molecule of this pyruvate, right, this pyruvate, there is still a lot of energy that is stored inside. We want to release it as much as possible. Okay, so we will undergo the second stage is called oxidation of pyruvates, whereby after the process is over, right, you will get carbon dioxide, you will get water, and more importantly, you will get your energy, which is going to be stored in the form of ATP molecule. So your ATP molecule is actually the molecule that stores the energy. It is a high energy molecule. Your molecule, if you don't store it, it will be released. If you release, you can't use it anytime you want. But if your energy is stored in the molecule, you can release it and use it whenever you want. It's like a storage, right? It stores energy inside the molecule. All right, okay? So I'll go to ATP now, right? I'm sure you really want to know what's ATP, okay? I'm also sure that a lot of students do not know what is ATP. You just learn it, okay, ATP lah, ATP this and that, all right? But you don't really understand what is ATP. I understand your problem, okay? I know what you're thinking, all right? So you want to know what's ATP. I want to tell you also. Okay, let's look at, so here, after undergoing oxidation of pyruvates, you find that all the energy will be released from your 2 molecules of pyruvate. So you have huge amounts of energy. You are able to make 36 ATP from this oxidation of pyruvates. So in total, under aerobic respiration, okay, under aerobic respiration, you can get 2 molecules of ATP from the glycolysis, which happens in the cytoplasm. And then after that, your pyruvate enters the mitochondria. It will further produce another 36 ATP. So altogether, 1 molecule of glucose, all right, 1 molecule of glucose will be able to give you up to 38 molecules of ATP. So this is you've been totally released already. No more energy inside the glucose. Okay, all the energy has been released. So this is the best choice, of course, right? You want to get as much energy from your glucose as possible. So that is if there is presence of oxygen. Okay, so this is called aerobic respiration. If not enough oxygen, you won't have this. You will not have this oxidation of pyruvates. So it will undergo a separate metabolic pathway, which we call fermentation. So in order to see fermentation, you watch my video 7.3, okay, which I've done it last year. Okay, so no questions so far, right? So we will go on to ATP, right? So I'm telling you about ATP here. Okay, now what is ATP? Okay, I'm sure you know the name, right? You can tell me what's ATP. You will tell me the name. Fantastically, everybody knows it's adenosine triphosphate. All right. So you have the A and the T and the P is adenosine triphosphate. But what is it? Why we need it? What is the role? What is the function? And then you also have an ADP, which is adenosine diphosphate. What is the relationship between these two? Are they the same? Are they different? Okay, let's look. So actually, adenosine triphosphate or ATP is an energy carrying molecule. Like I mentioned just now, when the energy is released in the process of respiration, this energy is stored in the molecule, in this ATP. So this ATP stores the energy inside it in a bond. The bond is high energy bond between the phosphate group. Okay, now I want to bring you back to chapter 4 when you learn about nucleic acid. Let's compare, right? You learned about nucleic acid in chapter 4, right? Nucleic acid. Let's look at this. This is what you've learned before. The basic molecule of nucleic acid is this nucleotide. Nucleotide has got 3 components. All right. If you forget what I'm talking about, you go and watch back my video 4.5, which is on nucleic acid. Okay, in chapter 4, 4.5. Yeah. Okay, so there are 3 basic units here. The first one is a phosphate group. Okay, PO4 3 minus phosphate group. Then they have a sugar molecule called a pentose sugar. So you see pentose is a 5-sided, isn't it? So you normally draw a pentagon to represent the sugar. So pentose sugar can be 2 types, either deoxyribose sugar or ribose sugar. Okay, so that's why if you use the deoxyribose sugar, you'll be producing that DNA. If it's using the ribose sugar, you get the RNA. So the different 2 types of nucleic acid, RNA, DNA. Okay, so this is pentose sugar. And the other group here is called the nitrogenous base, where you have your adenine, guanine, thymine, and cytosine. The 4 types, A, C, T, and G. Okay, there are 4 different types of nitrogenous bases. Actually, one more, uracil, 5 types. Okay, now compare that with adenosine triphosphate. It is very similar. Adenosine triphosphate is a variation of this nucleic acid. Look at the molecule. Just compare the molecule. Okay, and ATP consists of a ribose sugar. Okay, ribose sugar. It's a pentose sugar lah, but they use the ribose sugar, right? And then you have an adenine there. Okay, so this is the adenine, not the cytosine, not the guanine, not the thymine. It's adenine. And then you see over here, you have, instead of 1 phosphate group, there are 3 phosphate groups. Okay, so this is a molecule of ATP, which is made of ribose sugar, adenine, and 3 phosphate groups. That's why the name triphosphate means 3. There are 3 groups of phosphate joined together to this molecule. So this entire thing is called ATP. All right, so you compare with the molecular structure of it, you see the 3 molecules of ATP over here. 1, 2, 3. This is the ribose sugar, and this is the adenine. All right, so this is your ATP. And you see the last bond between the 2nd and the 3rd phosphate group. Now this is a special bond. We call this a high energy bond. So the energy that is released from cellular respiration, it will be used to make this bond. The energy that will be stored in this bond. So when you need to use the energy, what happens is this bond will be broken. So when this bond is broken, the energy will be released for the use of the cell. Okay, so ATP in summary, it is just a molecule that will store energy inside the molecule. It's we call the molecule is an energy carrying molecule. All right, okay. Now we see the relationship between how do you use your ATP. What do you get when you break down your ATP? Okay, now look at ATP versus ADP. All right, you will see all this every time you learn biology, right? Especially your chapter 3 talk about the what they call the sodium pump, sodium potassium pump. Okay, the active transport, and then the phosphate group will bind onto the active site and so on. Okay, and it will change the shape of your carrier protein, and that brings in the ions or the molecule of the substance. Okay, let's look at this is the ATP molecule, right? Why? Because you see that is the adenine here, there is the ribose here, and you have your 3 phosphate groups. All right, okay. Now, the third bond, the second, the bond between the second and the third phosphate group. Just now we mentioned is the high energy bond, right? Okay. Now, if you need to use the energy, this bond will be broken. Okay, you broken by what? By enzyme, of course. You need enzyme to to sort of like catalyze, okay, the breakdown of this bond. So let's say this is broken. Now when it's broken, you see your your phosphate group is released. Okay, no longer joined to your second phosphate group. And when this happens, the energy will be released because the energy was stored in that bond. So now the energy is released, you can use it for your muscle, for your legs, your muscles to contract so that you can run. You can do all the activities that you run and that you require energy for. Okay? And then when the phosphate is broken, this phosphate is released. You notice there's no longer 3, right? You take out 1 unit of the phosphate, you only get 2. So therefore, you call this now adenosine diphosphate. When you have taken out 1 phosphate group, when one of these phosphate group the bond has been broken, now you have what you have there is called an ADP because it's only 2 diphosphate. All right, okay. So now this diphosphate group actually is recyclable. You can also turn it back into ATP. How? How do you change back your ADP to ATP? Just now your ATP was holding the energy. Then when you break the bond, energy is released. So now I want to make back my triphosphate, ATP. I need to bring back the energy inside. Where do I get my energy? That's where your respiration comes in. When you have cellular respiration, let's say for example in the mitochondria, where there is glucose, there's oxygen, all right, and there is cellular respiration, there's aerobic respiration, right? So this cellular respiration will release energy. Okay, the energy is released. Energy, where does the energy go? This energy goes into and this energy together with the inorganic phosphate, just now the phosphate was broken, right? Now together with this phosphate, it stays in the molecule, in the substance, right? Now you bind it back together. You join it back with the energy, you will make back your ATP. So together with the inorganic phosphate that you have released from your ATP, now with the energy that is released from the respiration, you combine it. All right, you join back your P into your 2 molecules of 2 phosphate group, you get 3 phosphate group. And there you have made back your ATP. So you see it's like recyclable. Okay, ATP carries the energy. Once you need it, it will break down, give you the energy. And then now my ADP take back the energy. All right, you form back the ATP. So it's like a cycle. Your ATP converts it is converted into ADP. Your ADP take the energy that is released from the cellular respiration. You make back ATP. So this is what we call the ATP cycle. Okay, so what is useful about ATP is it carries your energy. When you want to use it, it will break. This bond will break. And then when you have energy produced, okay, you don't know what to do with this energy. You store it back. You store it back in the ATP. Whenever you need to use it, it breaks. then you use the energy. Okay, when you have cellular respiration, you make it back into ATP. Okay, all right, clear? So ATP is a very, very important molecule. Without ATP, all right, your cell will not be able to carry on living, because energy is the ability to produce energy is the basis of living, of life. Okay, if it's unable to produce energy, like for example, the cell is already dead, right? You notice that living organisms that are dead, you touch it and see there is no heat. It's all cold, right? A dead body is cold. There is no energy generated. There's no energy. All the cells are, all this cycle, all this does not does not carry on anymore. There is no energy produced. All right, okay. So this lesson, I hope that you have really understood what is ATP and why is it important that for you to know the ATP cycle. Because most of the time, students, it's ATP, but you don't know why. Why are we learning this? What is it for? Right? It is actually an energy carrying molecule. It carries the energy inside there, and it can be released when you want any energy. And if there's energy formed, your ADP will join back, will carry back the energy, will form back ATP. Okay, now summary. How do you write a word equation for aerobic respiration? All right, so your substrate is glucose. All right, don't forget you have to oxidize this glucose with oxygen. Oxygen oxidizes the glucose. And the product, right? What's on the left-hand side is the reagent. What is on the right-hand side of the arrow is the product. You have carbon dioxide, okay, because glucose has carbon inside there, plus oxygen, you get CO2. And glucose also has got hydrogen. Hydrogen plus oxygen, you get water, okay? And also energy is released from the molecules, the pyruvate, so you get energy release. This energy is carried by the ATP. So you have 38. Okay, aerobic respiration gives you up to 38 molecules of ATP. Okay, in chemical equation, okay, we don't really need okay, if you're not learning chemistry, but most importantly in biology, you must be able to write the word equation. Okay, so you have C6H12O6, which is glucose, plus 6 molecules of oxygen. So you can see everything is 6. See here is 6 molecules of oxygen produces 6 molecules of carbon dioxide, 6 molecules of water. Everything is 6. Okay, with ATP energy, and you have actually about 38 ATP molecules of ATP, or the magic number 2,898 kilojoules for 1 molecule of glucose. Okay, so remember, every molecule of glucose that is oxidized in aerobic respiration will give you 6 molecules of CO2, 6 molecules of water, and 2,898 kilojoules of energy, or 38 ATP. All right, 38 molecules of ATP. 2 from glycolysis, 36 from the oxidation of pyruvate in the mitochondria. Okay, so that's all of my lesson for today. All right, please share the video with your friends who you think that may want to know about ATP, especially the conversion of ATP and ADP. So if you want to know further, I've got my next lesson is actually 7.3, which I've already done last year, so it's in my playlist. So just have a look at it, all right, if you need to. So in other words, I've already completed everything except for chapter 1, chapter 2, and chapter 5 of Form 4. All right. So my other videos later on, I might choose to carry on with Form 5 topics. All right. Okay. So I hope to see you another time. Thank you very much. All right. Carries and Layet Kong. All right. So thank you. And you can share the video with your friend, or you can rewatch it anytime you want. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone. Have a good evening. And another day holiday tomorrow. Okay. Sunday. Bye-bye.